Okay, hello everybody. This is Jack Askew from Teaching ESL Online. And this video interview is going to look at using various Google products to help us with our online language teaching. And I can't think of a better person to bring on to talk about this than Rich Kiker. Now, Rich is the top-rated Google Apps trainer in the world. And I met Rich recently on the Teachers Teaching Online MOOC hosted over at WizIQ. Now, I watched his presentation. And although I have used different Google products before, I learned a lot of great new things and different features and different tools that we can use to collaborate and connect with our students. So Rich, thank you so much for taking your time and doing this interview with us.
Oh, my pleasure, Jack. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to chat and share.
Great. Well, firstly, Rich, if you could just tell us a little bit about yourself, what you currently do, and also how you got into doing what you do now.
Sure. So the quick tour is of how I got to where I am. Is I was a classroom teacher for 8 years. I ran a media technology department where we started using Google Apps back in 2006 when Google first launched the Google Apps platform. That was a collection of other solutions that they brought together. I think it was '06, and a few years after that, I stopped teaching. I started a company, became a Google certified trainer at the time, which is now the Google Education Trainers, and have done an awful lot of professional development in the Google space, helping schools deploy Chromebooks, helping running writing labs using collaborative online tools with Google Solutions. And then more recently, the district that I taught for years honored me by inviting me back as the director of online learning to build the online learning solution in a K-12 district here in Pennsylvania. So I'm fortunate right now to have so many things going right. I hope it keeps going that way for a little bit more, Jack.
Yeah, definitely. That's really interesting, and I know through communicating with you just how busy you are with different projects. Do you get to travel around a lot and to move to different places?
Interesting enough, everybody's busy, right? I do believe that. I believe everybody's busy. We're all busy in our own right. So I don't think I'm more busy or less busy than anyone else in the modern world, right? But tell you the truth, recently I have some little ones running around the house, so I try to travel by plane as little as possible, but I've been spending a lot of time certainly on the roads. In particular, I live in a very populated area of the United States, so from New York, from NYC to DC, I'm pretty much a road warrior these days. Between those two areas, there's a lot of people, a lot of schools between New York and DC to help, so I spend most of my time actually in that Northeast corridor right here.
Great, fantastic. Well, let's move on and talk a little bit about Hangouts now, because a lot of people who are teaching online and teaching languages online want ways to connect. Thinking about the tools that they can use and the platforms they can use to connect with with students. So we're using Hangouts on air right now. This is being broadcasted live on YouTube for anyone who wants to watch it. But briefly, just if you could just explain what Hangouts is and how it differs from Hangouts on air.
Sure. It's a great question. The platform quickly gained popularity when it was released on Google Plus a few years back, and it's video conferencing, right? But it's video conferencing for multiple users. The two different kind of flavors, as you mentioned, are Hangouts in general, and Hangouts are more private, where you would invite people in your network to communicate like we are right here, and the audience in up to 10 typically on a private Gmail account. Some EDU accounts will give you up to 15 people in a Hangout. But it's great because you can open your Google Docs, you can collaborate with team members. I use it. I probably use Google Hangouts 2 to 3 times a day now, either in district or working with some folks on the Google teams, whatever it may be, to share ideas and collaborate. And it's become so powerful and so reliable in terms of video quality. I think the compression that they use, not that I'm a technical genius, but the compression that they use to keep video quality like this, I can see you in wonderful high def right now, is really, really great. And of course, I'm on my $350 HP 14 Chromebook right now, all integrated, working perfectly. So Hangouts are wonderful for those collaborative spaces, not to mention, again, to this audience, especially the language arts folks here, the ability to collaborate, edit, peer review, all those wonderful strategies live in a Google Doc right inside the Hangout. The other flavor, of course, is the Hangouts on Air, which we're doing right now. A much more public broadcast, almost a free and open webinar live stream event where you can turn on a Hangout on Air, invite a certain number of participants, but then any number of people around the globe can watch and tune into the conversation, as you mentioned, through the live stream that's posted to your YouTube channel. So some really, really great, or a great range of service across the Hangout platform for sure.
Great, thanks. And just to go back to the actual Hangout now, the private one, which is what most teachers will want to use to connect with students. Just to note, I've used the Hangouts on Air to give like live events, different presentations, and I love that as a platform to use. But a lot of teachers will want to know more about the actual Hangout, the private event, where they can meet with like one student or 2, 3, 4 students. Now you mentioned you can integrate Google Drive into the Hangout. What are some other features that you can use on the Google Hangout?
So what's beautiful about Hangouts is, like we're seeing in a lot of the other Google product lines, Google Drive has apps integration, Chrome Web Store has apps integration for Chrome OS. Hangouts also has its own mini app platform. When you're in a Hangout, on the left-hand side of the screen, you can see the range of tools, and then there's like a continue menu where you can pull down other ones. You can share YouTube videos and watch a YouTube video together, almost like in a theater view type feel. There are Q&A sections. There's simple chat. There's screen sharing apps. So if we're speaking right here and I wanted to show you a task on how to maybe do a particular citation to a set of learners, I can do that all directly from within the Hangout. It's really wonderful. I think for this audience, doing online instruction and English language learning, again, maybe the most powerful feature would be the direct drive integration. So, Jack, right now we could open up a Google Doc and both be in that shared Google Doc, editing and collaborating, brainstorming, whatever it is that we want to do or need to do, and go from there. So some powerful third-party and other Google Drive, other Google app integrations inside of the Hangout window.
Great. There's another one that I've been using, or at least playing around with, which is the Google Effects.
Yeah.
You can integrate the background behind you and also put a hat on and do, silly stuff. But, in terms of language teaching, I just wonder if you'll be able to one day upload your own images, so you can do a specific role play with the background, maybe in a cafe or at a train station, where you can do specific role plays. That's something I would love to see Google Hangouts implement.
That's a really, really cool idea. How about it, right? You could almost create the setting of a novel, or I guess the possibilities are limitless once you get there, right? So that's a really cool idea. I might have to bring that back to some of the folks over at Google.
Great. Well, moving on now, let's talk a little bit about Google Drive. Now, when I first started using Google Drive, I was using it as an alternative to paid applications.
Sure.
But now it's become a collaborative tool. So can you just talk a little bit about how a teacher and a student might collaborate using Google Drive?
Yeah, I think we could be here. We could do a lot of time on this. Let me hit the big picture pieces for this audience. For me, a couple things that are important. One is the anytime, anywhere access. So whether I'm on my smartphone, my tablet, my Chromebook, or PC or Mac, I can get to my Google account in my Drive and edit in any shape or form. The native editing is there's somewhat limited editing on mobile applications, but that's expanding and growing as well. The native editing that we see in the browser works wonderful on PC, Mac, or Chromebook, right? So the anytime, anywhere access, I think is critical, especially when we have students using multiple devices. And while this audience, I think, may be focused on higher ed, certainly in the K-12 space, when we have students going to multifamily homes, maybe mom lives somewhere and dad lives somewhere else, and they have different devices, it reduces the burden and the strain on families and children and learners to get a single device working like we've had to do in the past. Two, the collaborative space is changing, right? Teaching writing online used to be looked at or frowned upon, let's say. Now it's almost, I don't want to say almost, it's a better platform. It's a better platform for delivering feedback and providing, quality assessment to students to have second chance learning and evaluate their writing, and also to give them the opportunity to, revise or provide revisions in the product. Inside of a Google Doc, and especially what we're going to see from Google Classroom come the fall, is the ability to share across your classroom to students, back to teachers. It provides the ability for teachers to provide commenting, of course, which is wonderful. Different, though, in local productivity tools, because a Google Doc, let's say, has not only the ability to comment, which isn't a new feature, however, it's instantly available. So if you're only meeting on Tuesdays and the rest of your course is blended, or if it's a fully online course, the time lost between submission to assessment, and then from assessment back to returning it to the student or the learner, is reduced, right? So in a world when we're all compressed for time, that's a big advantage. It's subtle, but it's big. And then we have other features, right? We have the ability to get in there and live collaborate. There's live chat built into Docs, similar to this Hangout. And then there's the new add-ons features that are third parties that you can pull into your Docs. The one I'm sharing most often now, although there's some great ones, I probably should spread the love around soon, but this app called Kaizena, and it's audio feedback for Google Docs. So I now can leave an audio recording for my students. So I'm giving them a multimedia option for feedback. They can interpret tone and inflection in your voice and get a real feel, probably a better feel than just text, for what it is you're trying to advise them on. So there's some subtle ways, but initially big picture ideas on how the collaborative space and the review process can work in a writing classroom with the use of Google Docs.
Great. That's really incredible. And yeah, I've been using it in the ways that you talked about, and through the presentation that you gave, I learned about this new feature with the audio feedback. Yeah. And my mind was just racing thinking about all the implications of this, and the opportunities that a teacher could have to connect with a student through voice, not in real time, but actually leaving this voice recording, getting the students to record their own voice, giving feedback on that, and just working together in a way where you don't actually have to connect at a specific time. And I just thought that was an amazing feature to introduce.
It's a great point. It's the value of asynchronous feedback, and it's the value of, like I said, compressing that time range of the connection between submitting and then returning writing projects. Incredibly valuable. I'm glad to hear that you're already using it. And I would encourage your audience to get into a Google Doc and check out the add-ons in the file menu or the add-ons menu at the menu bar, and go in there and explore some of those new add-ons. There's a thesaurus. There is highlighting tools. There's all these strategies that can be used in the online writing space.
Fantastic, great. Well, moving on now to Google+. Now, Google+ is a relatively new social media platform, although it has been around for, how long has it been around for now? 2 years?
2 or 3 years. I think this may be the third year already coming up. Mm-hmm. This August, end of summer, might be 3 years already.
Right, and now I advise a lot of teachers to choose 1 or 2 platforms and to be really active on those, and to use them in the correct way, which is about connecting with people, commenting on posts, and just basically using it in a way that's going to encourage learning and discussion. Now, do you have any tips about, as an online teacher who is new to the online world, about how to use Google+, about how to connect with students and to really use a platform in a good way?
I do, and in fact, I believe a colleague of mine, Eric Kurtz, has a wonderful Google+ for schools and Google+ for teachers guide that I'm going to send to you, Jack, and maybe you can include it in your next blog post for your audience. Great resource, but again, these big picture ideas for this conversation. I think when accessing Google+ as a new user, there's some really great ways to find your niche and find people that you connect to in this huge sphere of users, social users. I sometimes am trying to advise our educators to go into the communities, right, and search the communities. So English language learners, or ELL, You can go into communities and search for ELL or English learners or whatever it may be, and find a community that's already active of people in your niche, right? And then, like any other social network, like Twitter or LinkedIn, you gain value by adding value. So if you start contributing to the community and then possibly even sharing publicly outside of the community, you connect and add some of these people to your circles, which are like your private networks on Google+, because they're trusted educators and people that are like-minded and low risk, I would say, to follow and add to an educator's network. You start to build value, and then you start to build your network, and then you start to follow, and you see their public posts, and you can reshare and comment on posts, staying active in the environment, as you mentioned, Jack. And I think for at least an initial technique that's a little less intimidating, getting into those communities and kicking it around a bit. Then, of course, you can ask some of the more power users, yourself or me. Please feel free to reach out to me on Google+, or others in your community to share their favorite circles. So in Google+, a user can create a circle of, let's say, math teachers or English teachers, and you can say, hey, do you have a circle of good quality educators that I can use to kind of build a quick network? I trust your opinion. I trust you as an educator. I'd love to connect with the people that you've already connected with. And a lot of people are willing to share. So I have a Google circle that I share often of some of my top Google contributors and folks at Google and things like that. So that's another way to kind of start a network and build capacity inside of the network. Again, though, thinking about value add. So the more you give, the more you get back in any of these social networks.
Definitely. Yeah, I think that's such an important point with any social network that you use is to really give to the community and to be involved in the community that you're in.
For sure.
And a lot of people want to have quick results, to go on there, to post things and to expect, results really quickly. But it does take a little bit of time to build up, just like in any kind of other type of relationship. It takes time to gain trust, to gain like your friends, whether they're online or offline. But yeah, Google Plus is really, it's really building, isn't it, at the moment? It's gaining some traction.
It is. It's had some ups and downs for sure, but it has a large user base. I think the communities, like I have a Chromebook EDU community, I think that adds to the value. So I'm hoping it sticks, and I'm hoping that it continues to grow at this pace. I think you said something really interesting there, Jack, though. You mentioned it's just like any other relationship, isn't it? And we think about social sometimes as so fast and so quick hit, when in truth, if you're a true social networking user and someone who values that type of interaction, you spend a lot of time building those relationships online. You spend a lot of time, adding value to your network, helping others. It really isn't so different when you think about it that way than the relationships we build in our schools or in our positions or in our families sometimes. It's value add. It's not quick hit. It's building those relationships, and that's what helps us all grow as educators and helps us to establish this kind of tight global community of educators doing these great things. So I really appreciate what you said there.
Great. Yeah, thank you. Well, just to move on to the last question now, and this is all about Chromebooks. Now, my wife's computer broke about a year ago, and I decided for, I think it was for Christmas or Valentine's Day, to get her a Chromebook. And she, for what she does, for the online browsing, for the connecting with people, checking her emails, posting on Facebook, those types of things, it's absolutely perfect for her. Now, as an online teacher who's starting online, who wants to limit their initial outlay, would you recommend Chromebooks for the teacher? And if so, just explain exactly what you could do with a Chromebook and why a teacher should maybe think about getting one.
Yeah, so I absolutely would recommend a Chromebook to anyone in the online space. I'm not saying that there's not a learning curve or that there's not other valuable machines or PCs or Macs that you can use. They're all valuable. Here's why I would say a Chromebook is a huge win. Since we've started personal computing, it's always been local. We've always thought about local because we never reach an economy of scale where the cloud becomes more efficient than the local. Over the last few years, we have seen that now, right? And we've seen economies of scale where services online and where really robust software providers can do things better and at scale than what we were able to do in the past. There's no antivirus. It turns on in 8 seconds. There's no versions. It's always on the latest update, and those updates don't cost anything. So when we're talking about a world where we have multiple devices and we have to manage multiple machines from laptop, computer, mobile phone, tablet, bringing that cost down with something like a Chromebook is important. I think they're much more powerful than people give them credit for. As I said, I'm using my $350 Chromebook now has replaced my $1,000 device that I was using previously because I prefer this device. It works better for me. The other piece here is sometimes it's thought that they're limited in what they can do when the truth is they're only limited to the web. And any of your Google users or Google EDU users here would know that the range of Google services, the Chrome web store, and some of the apps and extensions that are possible in the Chrome operating system on the Chromebooks, and then the entire web as a classroom, as a learning platform, they're really not limited at all. When you think about what we do with the rest of our lives and how much work we actually do on the web now, we'll continue to see this cloud platform emerge now. It's not going away. I think the local operating system has a limited lifespan moving forward. And Chromebooks are already 4 or 5 years into the process. So they're perfecting it. They have experience in it, in the Chrome operating system. And it's just, I can quite honestly and very honestly say that I do all of my work either on a Chrome browser or in a Chromebook now. I have very few local applications that I use anymore, from personal taxes to to family activities to Minecraft for my son. There's very few things that we can't do on the Chromebook anymore. My son will be there's a great evangelist at Google who tells this story about his son on a device like a Chromebook watching Minecraft videos on YouTube while on another device playing Minecraft, and so learning from one and doing on the other in live time, in real time. And I always thought that was funny and wonderful to hear. And then I realized that when my son got old enough, he's doing the same thing. And I was like, wow, that's not just a cool story. That's actually what kids do now. That's what I do now. I do those things. So thinking about the world that way and thinking about Chromebooks as this web platform really can add value, and it can help all of us grow and become more relevant in what we're trying to do with online learning for sure.
Great. Yeah, fantastic. It's definitely something I think worth considering, especially with this bootstrapping mentality of, okay, I'm going to start something up on my own. I want to keep costs down low to begin with. Talking about how one Google account to use all these different platforms and applications, and to be able to do it on a very low cost computer. I think it's definitely something worth considering if someone is going into online teaching and wanting to keep those costs down.
I agree, Jack.
Well, Rich, thank you so much for your time today. It's been incredibly valuable for me, and I'm sure for everyone else watching this. You mentioned a couple of resources. Send those over to me, and I'll include them in the blog post I'm going to create around this video.
I will. I'll send those over to you now here, and thanks for having me, Jack. I always appreciate the opportunity to share what we're doing at Google with Google EDU and the whole Google EDU family. And anytime I can help anyone in your audience, please encourage them to reach out to me as well.
Will do. And what is the best way to do that? How can people find you?
On Google Plus, I'm at plus Rich Kiker, Kiker. I'm also on Twitter at RKIKER, at RKiker. And they're two pretty good ways to start for sure.
Perfect. I'll include those in the post as well. So thanks again, Rich, and speak to you soon.
Thanks a lot, Jack. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.